Let's start Economics Chapter 4, Globalization and the Indian Economy. First I am going to discuss about the economic policy under which globalization adopted in India. Under which economic policy this globalization adopted in India? New economic policy of 1991. In the year 1991, Indian government adopted a new economic policy due to financial crisis and pressure from the international organizations like World Bank and IMF. Okay, that means children, in the year 1991, our government has made changes in economic policies due to financial crisis in the country and pressure from the international institutions like World Bank and IMF. And that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister of India. About Manmohan Singh, children, as an economist, he also held several key positions in Indian government as the head of the Planning Commission, Governor of RBI, Finance Minister, and later he served as the 13th Prime Minister of India. Okay, so during his time period as a finance minister, India adopted this new economic policy of 1991. Coming to the features, three features under this new economic policy, children: liberalization, privatization and globalization. Three features. So what we have discussed now, when we have adopted this globalization, your chapter is about globalization, okay, but we need to start from this, children. It is mentioned in your book, but I think in the last pages it's just mentioned the year. Details are not given. Okay, so which policy adopted globalization in India? It's under new economic policy of 1991. Due to why India adopted this? Due to financial crisis and pressure from the international organizations like World Bank and IMF. And three features: liberalization, privatization and globalization. Now we'll explain the features, children. Three features. First two features: liberalization and privatization. What is liberalization? Liberalization means removing barriers or restrictions set by the government is liberalization. Government has removed the barriers. That means before 1991, Indian government or in India, there were restrictions on international trade. But after adopting the new economic policy, India removed all the restrictions set by the government for international trade. And coming to the barriers, children, tax is a barrier on international trade. Now countries are promoting free trade. What is free trade? That is, goods can be exchanged with little or no tariff. Goods and services can be exchanged with little or no tariff. Free trade. So under liberalization, government is promoting free trade or trade becomes more liberal. Second feature, privatization. In chapter 2, sectors we have classified in terms of ownership: private sector and public sector. Private sector owned by private individuals, public sector owned by the government. So under privatization, the ownership of industry, business from public to the private sector. Okay, there are, and in that second chapter we have discussed or studied about why public sector has to undertake certain services. But under privatization, now government is privatizing. Okay, under privatization, ownership is transferring from public sector to the private sector. So first two features we have discussed, children. Moving to the third and the important feature. Okay, our chapter is about globalization. The third feature is globalization. What is globalization? Is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between countries. Rapid integration or interconnection. Countries are connected with international trade. And which are the movements? Which are the movements taking place in international trade? There will be movement of goods, services, investments, technology and people. In globalization, there will be movement of goods, different types of goods, services, investments, technology and people. Why people need to move between countries? Maybe in search of better income, better jobs or better education. People are moving between countries. Now move on to two terms that we need in globalization process. Two terms that we need in globalization process, children. The first one is MNC, multinational company. Production across countries. Multinational company. First of all, what's the meaning of multinational company? It's a company that owns, controls production in more than one nation. Multinational company is owned by a developed country, but its production units spread across the globe. Okay, so what is a multinational company? It's a company that owns or controls production in more than one nation. Coming to the favorable factors that help for the setting up of, which are the favorable factors for setting one MNC? Favorable factors are closeness to the market. Okay, multinational companies, they will check whether that area is close to market for exporting purpose. And skilled and unskilled laborers, availability of skilled and unskilled laborers at low wages. Third factor is other factors of production. Other factors, four factors of production, you know, land, labor, capital, organization. So here which is missing? Land, availability of land. And government policies. Government policies, MNCs will check whether the policies are investment friendly. Okay, so what we have discussed, what is a MNC? MNC is a multinational company that owns, controls production in more than one nation. And which are the favorable factors for setting one MNC? That place must be close to the markets, availability of skilled and unskilled laborers available at low cost, other factors of production assured, and government policies. Now we can explain the working of MNC with an example. How a MNC is working. Working of MNC with an example. A large MNC producing industrial equipments. Industrial equipment producing MNC designs its products in USA and then has the components produced in China. Okay, manufactured in China. What's the meaning for that, children? A large MNC producing industrial equipments, designing in USA, and the components, not the final product, children. Components are produced or manufactured in China, and these components, okay, these parts are shipped to Mexico and Eastern Europe, where the products are assembled and the finished products are sold all over the world. Okay, the components produced in China, shipped to Mexico and Eastern Europe, and where the products will be assembled, components will be joined together and they convert into a final product, and from there they are selling or sold all over the world. Meanwhile, the company's customer care service is located in India. Okay, so look children, look at the example. Designing in USA, components are produced in China, then components shipped to Mexico and Eastern Europe. There they will assemble and make a final product and sold throughout the world. But companies, multinational companies, customer care services are located in India. What we have discussed about MNC. MNC is not only selling its finished goods globally but also produce globally. With the example we saw that they are producing goods globally. Components are produced in one country, designing in another country, assembling in another country. So it's produced globally. As a result, production is more organized and organized. The production process is divided into small parts and spread out across the globe. And a question chance is there, children. Production is spread across the globe. Explain with example. I repeat the question. Production is spread across the globe. Explain with example. You can give the example. Product designing in USA. Components are manufactured in China. Okay, and assembling in another country. Its customer care is located in India. That example you can give. Now we move on to the second term which we need in globalization, children. Investment and foreign investment. What is investment? Investment, that is money, the money that is spent to buy assets such as land, building, machines and other equipments called investment. The money that is spent to buy land, buildings, machines, etc. that is investment. But what is foreign investment? Investment made by the MNC is called foreign investment. Investments made by the MNC is foreign investments. Interlinking production across countries. MNCs, how they are setting production units in different parts of the world. Interlinking production across the countries. Interlinking, how they set up production units. In two ways, children. First, MNCs set up production jointly with some of the local companies. They join with some of the local companies and start production. Gradually, they buy that local company and expand production. Okay, and MNCs, by doing that way, even local companies are also benefited, children. They are getting investments and these MNCs can bring new technology. Okay, so local companies are also benefited, but gradually ownership will shift to the multinational companies. Example is given in your book, children. An MNC, Cargill Foods, an American MNC, and now they join with the Indian producing unit known as Parag Foods. Okay, initially they joined together and started production. Now the ownership in Cargill Foods, that is an American MNC. Okay, so first way how MNCs set up production, they start production jointly with some of the local companies and expand production. Second way, there is another way, children. They place orders. For production with the small producers. Okay, they are not investing more. They will supply the raw materials to small producers. Maybe they are producing these goods in their houses itself, household units. Okay, production, these MNCs place orders for production with the small producers. Example, you can see it in the slide, children. Sports items you can see. Okay, but these are under branded names. But these are MNCs, and these companies or these products may be produced locally. Okay, small producers are producing this. After production, they will hand over to the MNCs, and MNCs will put the brand name and sell. Okay, so this is the second way. Multinational companies place orders with the small producers. And question will be like this, children. What are the various ways in which MNCs set up or control production in other countries? That will be the question for this topic. So whenever next time, whenever you are going for shopping, okay, check whether if you are going to buy any branded items, check. Produced will be written, children. Okay, produced, whether it's produced in India or in China, check. One more example is mentioned in your book, children. Example of MNC, the Ford Motors. Ford Motors, an American automobile manufacturer. You can see the logo of Ford company, children, an American manufacturer for automobiles, and Mahindra and Mahindra, an Indian company, Indian automobile company. Okay, so now we'll check how, now Ford company wants to develop their base in India. Okay, so we'll check how this American company, that means now this Ford company find it profitable in India. Okay, an American company, Ford Motors, an American company of the manufacturer of largest automobiles manufacturers. Then they set up a plant in Chennai in 1995 in collaboration with the Indian company named Mahindra and Mahindra, a major Indian manufacturer. And Ford Motors was selling cars in the Indian market and also exporting to other countries also, children. Due to the favorable conditions of multinational companies, now Ford company wants to develop India as a base for their global operations. Okay, so what this example says, children? Ford company, an American MNC manufacturing automobiles, they set up a production unit in Chennai. Okay, and they are producing cars for the Indian market as well as for export. Now they plan to make their base in India because in India it's profitable for them. Moving to foreign trade and integration of markets. Foreign trade, there are different types of trade, children. Domestic trade within the country, foreign trade between countries. Goods and services can be exchanged between countries. Foreign trade and how this foreign trade lead to integration of markets. Coming to the functions, to understand this topic we need to explain the functions of foreign trade, children. Foreign trade creates an opportunity for the producers to reach beyond the domestic market. Okay, that means now the Indian producers, they are not producing for the Indian market. Okay, because after globalization our products are moving globally. So producers are not producing for the domestic market only. Choice of goods in the market rises. As a consumer, we are getting more goods and services at low prices. New designs are coming. Price of similar goods in two markets or two countries tend to become equal. That is another advantage, children. Okay, now prices, although these two producers, producers from two different countries, but due to international trade, prices tend to be equal, not exact price, children. Variations may, slight variations may be there, but they try to make it equal. Then producers in two countries now closely compete against each other even though they are separated by thousands of miles. Okay, producers in two different countries, they are separated by different miles, but they try to compete each other by making changes in their products. Thus, foreign trade results in connecting the markets or integration of markets in different countries. And question will be, children, how does foreign trade lead to integration of markets across the countries? That will be the question for this topic. Yeah, now I'll show you one interesting slide, children. Effect of foreign trade made in China. Okay, more new technology, more interesting goods. Okay, effect of foreign trade, and explain the effect of foreign trade through the example of Chinese goods or toys in the Indian market. Why Chinese goods having more demand in India? Or which are the main Chinese goods having high demand in India? Goods such as electronic goods, children, electronic goods, iron and steel, plastic, toys, all these goods having high demand in India. Chinese goods having high demand in India. So now I am going to discuss about how this high demand of Chinese goods, okay, how it affect the Indian economy or Indian producers. Chinese goods in India. Buyers in India, now we have more choice between Indian and Chinese goods. Because of the cheaper prices and new designs, Chinese goods become more popular in the Indian market. We know, okay, they are using new technologies and designing. Okay, I think they are spending more money on designing their products. Okay, quality may be low, but designing they are spending more money. So due to that, Indian market, okay, they have high demand in Indian market. In the competition between Indian and Chinese goods prove better, and Indian buyers have greater choice at lower prices. For the Chinese producers, this provides an opportunity to expand business and earn profits. Okay, they are gaining more profit from the Indian economy. Chinese manufacturers, but look at the condition of Indian manufacturers. Indian producers face losses as their goods are selling much less. Okay, Indian producers were hit by the import of Chinese goods. Coming to the summary, children, what we have discussed in this part 1 globalization, we have started from new economic policy. Okay, because globalization adopted under new economic policy of 1991, and 3 features for new economic policy: liberalization, privatization and globalization. What is globalization? Globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between countries. And the 2 terms that we need in globalization we have discussed, children: MNC and foreign investment, multinational companies and foreign investments. Multinational company that owns production units in more than one country. What is foreign investment? Investment made by MNC. And MNCs, how MNCs are setting production units? MNCs can set production units in 2 ways. First, joining with some of the local companies, and gradually they buy that local company and expand production. Example, Cargill Foods, American MNC, and the Parag Foods, Indian company. Now Parag Foods joined under Cargill Foods. Ownership shifted to the Cargill Foods, children. And second one, place orders with the small producers, mainly for the sports items or garments. Okay, MNCs are supplying raw materials and placing orders. And after making the product, these small producers hand over it to the MNC and they will sell under their brand name. Foreign trade results in integration of markets. Even though The producers are separated from miles, but they started, okay, they start compete each other, making changes in their product. Effect of the import of Chinese goods to India. Chinese goods having high demand in India, children, okay, and local producers or domestic producers were hit with this Chinese import of Chinese goods. We'll continue in the second part.